I came across a very interesting video from a YouTuber by the name of Aristo. He's a 19-year-old atheist who discusses his metaphysics, the things that he believes in. And for me, this was like a trip down the memory lane because at some point, these are exactly the things that I used to believe in. So, given that this is a checkpoint that I crossed on my own spiritual journey, I thought it would be a fun exercise to respond to the things that Aristo says in this video from a Vedic Hare Krishna perspective. It's a healing experience for me because it's like speaking to my past self. So I'm really excited. Let's get started.
Hello, everybody. My name is Aristo, and today I want to give you an account of my metaphysics because I believe quite strongly in what I believe right now. I want this to be kind of a snapshot in my philosophical evolution on what I believe the world to be like. And if I'm ever going to change my mind, then I'll have to come back to this video and, isolate where I was mistaken or misguided. So let's get into it. So first of all, generally speaking, I'm a materialist, of course, with caveats. Now, it's important to remember that all metaphysics have caveats. And you might say, well, if you just accept the existence of God, then you don't need to have any caveats. Well, in my view, just introducing the existence of God is a caveat because it cannot be proven from reason alone. It needs to be in the context of faith, and I don't deal with faith.
So, Aristo says that the existence of God cannot be proven by reason. And that is a deal breaker for him because if something cannot be proven by reason, then he can't believe in it. And this is something I used to believe in very strongly as well. And I used to follow and admire people who exposed the unreasonableness of those who had faith or who believed in God without having any evidence. But there's a problem with this view. It assumes reason to be the absolute yardstick with which we measure everything. And it simply isn't. Let me tell you with a story. So once I was watching the interview of the founder and CEO of the biggest company of the world. And he said something very interesting when he was asked about his philosophy of running the company. And he said, I believe in hiring people who are smarter than me and surrounding myself with such people. And they are the ones who get the responsibility to run the company, and they are the ones who make it grow and make it as successful as it is. Now, this was very confusing to me because I believed in the supremacy of reason. I thought, well, if there are people who are smarter than you, then why would they ever work for you? Because if they're smarter, that means they have more reasoning capability. They're more intelligent than you. So shouldn't they be the ones employing you in a world where reason reigns supreme? And yet, here I was looking at this interview where this person is saying that no, I am the one who employs the people who have superior reason to me. I just couldn't figure it out. So I had to chalk it up to either luck or to money, but none of those were satisfying answers. Until much later, of course, when you come across the teachings of Krishna, then you understand that actually it's not reason that CEO was competing on. He's admitting it openly that he's not competing on intelligence or reason. He's competing on faith. What makes it so that he can employ the people with superior reason? It is his faith in his company, which is why he got started with that company or that mission in the first place. Now that is something that makes perfect sense. So, as rare as reason is, although these days it's not very rare because AI has made reason or intelligence cheaper than running water. Today, a person with a device is smarter. He can talk about more things. He knows more things than the smartest people of the last century. Just one person with a device. So reason now is becoming more and more abundant. That means intelligence is becoming more and more abundant. But faith is rarer than ever. And faith always trumps reason. Every single time. People with faith will always be in a position that will be, from our eyes, superior to those with reason. Because the mind will always come to serve the heart. So there is something that is superior to reason, that is faith. And you cannot measure faith with the yardstick of reason. Just like you can't measure a football field with a 6-inch ruler, exactly in the same manner. So we need to reject this paradigm altogether, that reason is the supreme. Once we go to that paradigm where we have faith, we operate with faith, we don't abandon reason. Reason is still with us. In fact, it becomes more perfect than ever because now it comes to serve faith. And this is how these CEOs, they run their companies, because the unique asset that they have is faith in that particular mission. And then they use their own reason and the reasoning of everyone around them to augment, to forward that mission. And faith is the rarest of all gifts. Faith is so rare, even in the pursuits of this world, even in the material world, where the rewards are so explicit. There's so much wealth to be made, so much prestige to be had, but still faith is such a rare commodity. So what is to be said of a realm which is completely causeless, where the only motivation is love for the source? How much more rare is that faith? And the crown jewel of that faith is faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. That is being given to us by Nityananda, who's coming to our doorstep to give that gift to us. That is the greatest of all gifts. That is the most rare treasure. It goes on forever and ever. We are being given that gift for free. How incredible is that?
Boro mojar katha tai, boro mojar katha tai. Shraddha mulya shuddha naam she hate te bikai. Khoda nitai, khoda nitai.
Let's continue.
Everything that is real exists in the physical world, in this realm of existence, right? I don't believe that there is any other realm of existence. And I believe that trying to even describe a realm like that is very difficult. The world, the universe is bound by space and time, and everything that exists materially. How would you even conceive of a world where there's no time and no space? Like, what would that, a useful tool in philosophy is thinking about, can I even conceptualize this? I cannot conceptualize a realm of existence without time, without space, without matter. Like, then nothing just exists. Like, then there's nothing. And if someone were to be in the comments watching this video and just try to explain with words how the immaterial realm of existence might look, right? Is because there's no space, there's no matter, there's no time. Can things even happen without time? Can things even exist meaningfully without existing physically? Then there's the interaction problem. If there was a realm of immaterial stuff, how does it interact with the material world?
All right, so you've asked two great questions. So on the first point, you say that this space is defined by space and time. It's bound by space and time. So if it's an immaterial realm, it has to exist without space and time. So what would that even look like? How would we ever conceptualize it? And this is the source of your doubt. This is why you think nobody can ever have any information about that realm. Well, first of all, let me say that you are by default going in the direction of the impersonalist school of thought. Because you're speculating, which is exactly what the impersonalists also do, which is why they come up with these conclusions, that it's a realm beyond space, beyond time, beyond attributes. There's nothing there. And they just accept that formless, attributeless space as the supreme. You think that it's just so unsatisfying, you don't even want to go there. So I congratulate you for your intelligence. Now let me give you the real picture of what that space looks like. First of all, before saying that we are bound by time, you have to understand what is time. Krishna reveals in the Bhagavad Gita, Kalosmi lok kshayakrit praviddho. time I am, the destroyer of worlds. So, Krishna is time. God is time. God has many energies. He takes many forms. One of those is time. And what does he do as time? He destroys the worlds in this material plane. So, everything that we have here on this plane is going to be taken away from us. You are young, good looking, you may have wealth. These things will all be taken away from you. By who? By time. So, when you understand that it is the Supreme Lord who is Hari, Hari means one who takes away. He is taking the form of time. Then you begin the process of devotional service to him. And through devotional service, you understand, you get the knowledge of, and you gain entrance into that eternal spiritual world. Now, what does that world look like? If it's not bound by time and space, then what would it even look like? So here, time is the ultimate cause of death and destruction. And as we say, we are all racing against time because time is death. But in that world, time is eternal life. Time exists for a purpose as a servant to increase the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Enjoyer, and to increase the love that exists between the Supreme Lord and his eternal devotees who live with him in that eternal realm. It exists to increase the knowledge of Krishna by devotees eternally. And because of the fact that Supreme Lord Krishna is eternal and infinite, we are all eternal, but he is infinite. That means that he can forever reveal more of himself, day after day, forever. That is true infinity. Here in this material world, we have our concepts, we have our symbols and formulas, and so we come up with a nice symbol that denotes infinity without ever thinking through the consequences of this concept. Because here we can never ever conceptualize something that's infinite. But still we think we have it all figured out by putting it in a nice symbol and making theories about it. You divide 1 by infinity and you're going to get 0, and you divide some finite number by 0 and you're going to get infinity. And so we think we have it all figured out, but we have actually never thought through what infinity actually means, exactly the way that we've never thought through what death actually means. Because the moment we try to think through it, we find ourselves staring in the face of something that terrifies us and we don't understand. So we don't even go there. We don't even try. We shut that door, fearing what we are going to find behind it. This is the state of the material world. This is the illusion that people are living in. But in reality, there is such a thing as infinity, and that is Krishna. Krishna in all his forms is infinite. That means he can reveal forever more and more of himself to his devotees. And time is serving to increase the knowledge of the devotees of Krishna. That's what that world looks like. It is a world of ever-increasing bliss and knowledge. Eternal pastimes that are going on forever, that will never stop. Just like in a loving relationship, there's not a day that is dull. Every day is fresh. Every day is new. Now that times infinity, that going on forever and ever, that is what the spiritual world looks like. Let's continue.
Then there's the interaction problem. If there is a realm of immaterial stuff, how does it interact with the material world, right? Because by definition, immaterial things are things that don't exist physically. And they are things that we can't measure or see or interact with because they, by definition, exist on a different plane of reality, of existence.
All right. That is the interaction problem for you there. That if there is such a world, then how does it interact with this world? What's its relationship with this world? Now, let me explain by analogy. So, Isaac Newton came and he gave us the paradigm of classical mechanics. An apple falls on his head, and we all know the legend, and he discovers gravity, and then it flips the scientific world on its head, It makes them understand the interaction between objects, how things get attracted towards each other by the force of gravity. And they come up with this equation. They feel it's going to explain everything. And then they drill down. The machines get better, the observations get finer, and they go down into the molecular level. And they try to apply that classical mechanical paradigm. And they fall flat on their face. They can't figure anything out there. So new paradigm is born. It's called quantum mechanics. Now, quantum mechanics exists at the same time as classical mechanics. Not that classical mechanics has become completely useless, we throw it away. No. But these two exist at the same time, but on different levels. And one controls the other. The quantum mechanical paradigm explains the classical mechanical paradigm. At the same time, it operates completely independently. This is how the soul exists with respect to the body. It exists at the same time, completely independently, but at the same time, it defines and controls the movements of the body. The higher realm always controls the lower, exactly as the quantum realm controls the classical. The spirit is existing within the body as if being carried around by a vehicle. And the spirit is the driver and the body is the vehicle. And what we see is the body. Because this is gross, we can make observations with it. We can apply our reasoning to it. But the spirit is actually driving it.
So then the question becomes, how do these two worlds interact? And here we run into the problems with God, for example, or with certainly it's the main conundrum with ideas of a soul or consciousness. If we have, this kind of soul that's been bestowed upon us by a higher power, or you can believe that there isn't a higher power, but simply that we have been bestowed with souls anyways, right? The main question here is like, okay, but how does that work? Why am I conscious? Like, where is this consciousness that makes me conscious?
I'm so glad you asked. Ask and ye shall receive. Doesn't the Bible say that? This is the most important question that a human can ask. What do you think we are here to do? You think we are here to gather some opulences, become famous or wealthy or anything like that? No. We are here on this planet, in this body, to ask precisely that question. And if we fail to ask that question, then we have failed in our life as a human being. So I'm so glad that you asked that question. First of all, the way you say it, that let's say that we've been bestowed a soul by a higher power. No, we have not been bestowed a soul by a higher power. We are a soul that has been bestowed a body by a higher power. That's the right way to think about it. Because you're thinking reasoning first, you're thinking mind and body first, and spirit later. You are de facto coming to this conclusion that, let's say, the soul is bestowed to us by a higher power. But the truth, when you see it from the other direction, faith first, reason second, heart first, mind second, soul first, body second, when you see it from that perspective, you say it and you see it in a very different way. You don't say, let's say we've been bestowed a soul. You say, oh, we have been bestowed a body. We are the soul. We are not this body. And how do you know you're not this body? Well, because there's something unchanging about you. And that which is unchanging is actually you. That is what defines you. That is what makes you who you are. If I were to ask you, Aristo, as a child, you were 5 years old, you had a completely different body. You had a different form. You had a different size, different attributes. You had different memories. But still, you feel that you are one. There's a continuity between you then and you now and you of the future that hasn't even come to be, but you already know that it will still be you. So that binding thread between your past, present, future, that around which the body is accumulated, because body is just an accumulation of mass. It's an accumulation of the 5 elements. So body is just that. That's not you, because that's forever changing. But that which is unchanging is you. And yes, you don't see it. And yes, you may not be able to observe it under a microscope, which is why you declare that you don't have reason to believe in it. But when you understand it in this way, and when you hear, most importantly, from the right authority who's giving Bhagavad Gita, that is Srila Prabhupada, then you are going to understand reality as it is, that you are actually the soul. And the whole point of life is to be able to find yourself, is to be able to understand who you are, know thyself. Until you have understood who you are, there's no question of any other inquiry. Every other inquiry will be colored by illusion, because we are wearing the glasses of illusion. So I'm very glad that you asked this question, and now has begun your real human life with the asking of this question. So let's continue.
Right? Where in my body is it? Because it definitely seems to be confined to my body. If it's not, then why can I not, why is my consciousness here? Why can I go over there? Why can I not go into my brother's mind? Like, why can I not hear his thoughts? And again, if the immaterial world does not even exist in a field of matter and
all right, why can't I hear someone else's thoughts? Why can't I enter into someone else's body? Well, we have to understand the constitutional design of a human being, or any living being for that matter. The Katha Upanishad describes that the Supreme Lord, who is all pervading, He is everywhere. He is sitting within our heart, next to us, the real spirit soul around which this body and mind is accumulated. The two of them are sitting in the heart next to each other like friends. Why can't you access the mind of your brother? Krishna says to Arjun, Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti avidhiyate etad yo vetti tam prahu kshetrajna iti tadvidu. That means you are inheriting this body. The soul is the kshetrajna and the body is the kshetra. Kshetra means field of knowledge, and kshetrajna is the knower of that knowledge. So the spirit is seated in the heart, and from there he has knowledge of what's going on in the body. Now, what kind of knowledge is it? It is the knowledge of observation. It is the knowledge of experience. So your soul, which is the real observer, is sitting in the heart. And from there, it is able to observe the things that are happening in your body. Now, this doesn't mean that you have a reasoning kind of understanding, a mind understanding of your body, like the bodily processes and everything. You may not know that. You may not know exactly how the red blood cells are working. You may not know these things with your mind, but still, from an observer perspective, you will have the knowledge of whatever is going on in your body, because if I pinch you on your forehead or if I pinch you on your toe, you're going to feel it the same way, because you are the kshetrajna of this body. And who is the kshetrajna? The soul spirit that sits in the heart. And as far as the question of why can't you access your brother's mind, his memories, his body, whatever he's feeling, why can't you access that? It's because you are confined. You are finite. You are a speck of consciousness whose kshetra, the field of knowledge, is this body. It is not that body. It is not even 1 inch outside of the boundaries of this body. You are confined to this. But here's the magical part. Here's why we can understand and empathize with others. You can definitely not feel what's going on inside the body of your brother, but you can empathize with it. So where is this connection coming from? Where is the sense of oneness coming from? That is coming from the best friend of the soul spirit that sits in the heart next to him. That is the Supreme Lord. Because he is all pervading. So he is in your heart as well as he is in your brother's heart, and he is the same. He is one continuum.
space then why is it that it interacts with space in this way if it's not just a constant, universal existence? It's really strange.
Precisely, that's exactly what I said. Why isn't it a universal existence? Because you are unable to establish the separation between yourself and the Supreme Lord. Therefore, you're getting confused. You're feeling, oh, it should be, I should be feeling everything. I should be all pervading. No, but you establish separation between yourself and Him. Then you will understand that you are not supposed to be all pervading. He is already all pervading, the one who sits next to you. Bahir antascha bhutanam acharam charam evacha. Sukshmatvat tadavijneyam durastham chantike chatat. This verse precisely explains this question that you're asking. That you get a feeling that you should be all pervading. No, it's not you, it's Him, the Supreme Lord, your Creator, who is all pervading already. He's all pervading within all living entities, all things, all atoms. He's pervading through everything. And He sits in your heart. And He's so active within your heart, which is why you have all this energy to be able to speak and make this YouTube video and ask all these brilliant questions.
And it's the core of the interaction problem. And that's something that I think is really telling. It's very difficult to kind of give an account of why things work the way they work if you propose that there is such a thing as the immaterial, and how that coexists and indeed influences the world of physical matter. Now, on my account as a materialist, I don't believe that there is such a thing as immaterial stuff, and that by that virtue there's no interaction problem. And this metaphysical stance of materialism is the only metaphysical stance that avoids the interaction problem. I don't even need to explain to you where the soul is. I don't need.
Precisely. So you don't need to explain because you closed your eyes. It's like an ostrich that puts its head in the sand. But that doesn't make the danger go away. That doesn't make the predator go away. This is a problem that you will be forced to deal with at some point.
Explain to you what consciousness is as a separate thing from the body. I don't believe that it is a separate thing. I believe that me as a human, as a person, I'm not more than my body. There's nothing outside of my body that is me. Like when I die, I'm dead. Like because my body dies, I am my body.
You are not this body. You are not this body. Spirituality 101, the first thing you will learn when you go to a spiritual class given by Srila Prabhupada. You are not this body. You are that which resides within it. You are the observer. You are the constant. You are the eternal that lives within the body. You are not the body. The body belongs to Him for a short period of time. The greatest thing that we can do with this human life is to understand this, that we are not this body, and then to understand what we are supposed to do with the body now that we have it for some time. What's the best use of this body? And ultimately, the answer that you'll come to, it is to serve the one who gave me this body and who sits with me right here next to me.
And you might want there to be something more. You might want a soul. You might want to be, in some way connected.
Exactly. Now, why? Why is my question. Why do people want a soul? Why do people want to feel connected? Why do people want to surrender to a higher power greater than themselves? Why? Why? Until we ask why, we haven't, forget about completing the inquiry, we haven't even begun the inquiry.
To some higher power and you feel spiritually like you're connected to the universe. I don't believe that. I think that's,
But Aristo, earlier you said you don't dally with subjects of faith. And now you're saying you don't believe that. That's a contradiction. If you believe that, that means you are dealing with faith. And the reason why I point out this internal contradiction in your view is because at some point you'll be forced to resolve this contradiction. And when you try to do that, that is when you will spiritually start growing.
it doesn't seem very intuitive to me once you actually start looking into what that would metaphysically look like, what like practically be, you know. And I might have to do some shrooms or some psychedelics, because I've heard that gives you kind of a different perspective, kind of feeling like you're unified with the universe. So that might actually be something for my like genuinely productive to do for someone like me who thinks about this stuff a lot.
You don't have to do any psychedelics. All you have to do is pick up the chanting beads, pick up the japa bag and chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That's all you have to do. It's better than any psychedelics. It will keep you high forever. That high, not only is it sustainable, it's eternal. It gives you everything you have ever wanted. Right here on this planet, in this moment, right now. You just have to pick up the chanting beads and you have to chant. And never do psychedelics, because it's like, as a wise man said, it's like strapping yourself to a rocket and then hoping that it lands in a good destination. But meditation is like sitting inside safely within a guided missile and determining where it's going to go. But better than all impersonal meditation is japa meditation, the chanting of the holy name on the chanting beads.
But anyways, I don't believe in the soul. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in, you know, consciousness as a separate property from your physical body. And the caveats I have, I'll list them off for you. First of all, it's the emergence of anything, of the world, of the universe at all, right? The first cause, the uncaused cause. Why does anything exist and how did anything come to exist? That's a question I cannot answer, but that's a question nobody can answer without inventing concepts of all-powerful entities that just exist somehow on some other level than the physical universe, right? And to me, that's a bigger caveat than just saying, I don't know, because I don't know. What came before the physical world is, by definition, necessarily inaccessible to us. And so, but again, I don't believe that we need to answer that question for any practical purposes. Now, of course, this is not a discussion about practical purpose. It's about metaphysics, about what I believe to be true in the universe. And so I will say this, I don't know. And I don't think that's a problem that I don't know. But everything else I can fairly well describe just by, you know, invoking the principles of the laws of physics, of evolution. You know, I actually have a way for.
All right. You said a lot of things there. That why did the world come to exist? Why does it exist the way it does? These are questions nobody can answer according to you, because you cannot answer it. Therefore, nobody can answer it. But that's not correct. That's not correct. Do you know what everybody knows? Do you know what everyone has seen? You cannot declare nobody has seen the truth. Nobody knows why the world exists, because I don't know why the world exists. This is simply you're projecting your own limitations on others. You have to surrender, accepting that there is something greater than you. It exists even in the field of science, right? You have to surrender. You have to take mentorship. You have to take the guidance of someone who's ahead of you so that you can go ahead yourself. So then why would it be any different in the spiritual world? It is exactly the same. And when we go to the Acharya, who has been to the other side, and then he's come back to show us the truth, then we better take that guidance. It's really valuable. It's going to give us real understanding. It's going to give us real faith, the real understanding of that supreme person, the supreme reality, what it looks like, what it feels like, why we've been put here in this world, and what do we do with it? What's the best we can make of it? Because it is a losing bargain, but still we can use that losing bargain in a way that it gives us eternal victory. So all these things will be understood, but you must surrender to a force greater than yourself.
People to either dispel of their immaterialism or start to have qualms with evolution. And you ask this simple question: where in the path of evolution were humans bestowed a soul? How big do our brains have to be until where we become like chosen by God?
I hope that this question has been answered by this point.
To become like this, like in a unique way sentient, in a unique way conscious, that's different from dogs. that's different from monkeys and different primates that, is in our evolutionary tree, but don't have the same emergence of this type of consciousness.
Yes. When were we given this special power? That is when the soul inherited the body of a human. When the soul got the body of a human, when it was ready for that, that is when it got this special consciousness, this special power, intellect, because humans are special. How are humans special? Because all animals are simply existing to gratify their senses in 8 million different varieties, in 8 million different ways. There are all kinds of habits and behaviors and mating rituals and foods. All these things exist within these different species because the animals exist simply to gratify their senses. And the human, because of his advanced intelligence, can do a lot more things. And the centerpiece of all those pursuits that a human can embark on is the understanding of our own nature, who we are, who created us, what is his nature, why he created us, what's our relationship with him. To understand these things, that's the pinnacle of human pursuit. And we got this special ability the moment we were ready to enter the body of a human being. We've been in many, many bodies before. And so we better understand the value, the special, unique value, as you seem to understand, of this human life. And we better put it to good use.
And also morality is a big thing in this, right? I believe in morality insofar as we feel it. I believe that good is moral intuition, and it's simply that. It's just like what we describe as being good. And why we describe it as being good is partly genetics, it's evolutionary. Our moral intuitions as humans are, with a very broad brushstroke, they condemn antisocial tendencies and behavior. And why they do that is because humans are very tribal animals, or like we work in tribes, we work together. Our strength is in our numbers and in our innovation and in certainly learning and teaching and generational development. I don't know how to describe that properly, but you get what I mean. That's the unique evolutionary strategy of humanity that allowed us to conquer the world.
Now you talk about morality. Where does morality come from? You say it can't be an objective truth, but it's just a tool, according to you, that we humans have because it increases social cohesion and that makes a tribe more likely to become successful in its conquest. Therefore, they have morality. That's not the way that a devotee looks at it. The people who follow religion, any religion, they're going to tell you that morality comes from religion. However, there's a greater reality than that. Morality does come from religion, but morality is not something that we fixate on. We do not fix our minds on chasing morality. Exactly like we don't fix our mind on chasing prosperity. We don't fix our minds on having the perfect philosophy either. We don't fix our mind on dharma, artha, kama, moksha. All these things are simply branches of a tree. And what's the root of that tree? It is love of God. One who has love of God, perfect love of God, for him, perfect morality will self-manifest according to time, place, and circumstance. Just like prosperity will self-manifest, the perfect philosophy will self-manifest. It all comes downstream from perfect love of God. So those who fixate their minds on morality, they are missing the point. There's actually a consequence to this error too. You're going to find the worst, the most extreme kind of morality thumpers are going to be the worst violators of their own moral principles that they claim to be the exemplars of. They will be the worst violators of those. And it is because they're trying to water a branch of a tree separately. Whereas what we need to water is the root of the tree, and the branches will be nourished by themselves. We won't even have to try. It will just happen.
It's all about survival of the fittest. and for humans to be the fittest, which we can be and which we have been, to produce this society that we have, social cohesion was required. And as a species, we then had to develop, instinctive moral tendencies that steered clear from antisocial behavior, because we need the social cohesion to survive, because that's how we work.
I wouldn't say survival is the greatest of all goals. It just isn't. Because anyway, we have to die one day. So survival what? And the other point is that we aren't even the best of survivors. We're just not. If you look at so many other species, they survive in ways far greater than us, much more resilient than us. Just look at tardigrades. They can survive in space. They can survive in water. They survive in numbers much greater than our own. Survival is not the greatest of our instincts. It's not the greatest of our values. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's just a given. We survive for some time, 100 years or so, and then we die. So to fixate on survival, we don't understand the kind of illusion that we are putting ourselves in. Instead, we need to fixate our minds on love, specifically love of God. When we fix our mind on that, everything else is facilitated. And even those who didn't survive, even they will survive across time. Because as I said, time will serve to increase their glories. Time is forever serving to increase the glories of a servant of Krishna, a pure devotee. So let's just forget about this bodily survival, this illusory knowledge of bodily survival. It's just an assumption. It's an assumption that is a mistaken assumption. And we, as humanity, are going to wake up to this mistake very shortly.
Right? So it's probably genetics, which I think is the biggest part of it. Most religions have the same kind of instinct of like peacefulness. Don't kill, don't steal, don't hurt each other, help each other instead. Like, things that promote society, the prosperity of the masses. That's why fundamentally a lot of cultures have the same instincts on morality, because we're all human and we all needed these tendencies to evolve and create a prosperous species. But on the other part is culture. And that's what's transformative about morality. That's why morality has changed throughout the years, throughout human history. I mean, what was okay 100 years ago is certainly not okay today. What was okay 500 years ago is certainly not okay today. The best example of this is, slavery, right? It was okay culturally, you could say, 500 years ago in the U.S., or like, the slave trade, and it's not okay today, and it wasn't okay then either. But even in me saying that it wasn't okay then either kind of puts me in a weird place, because I sound like a moral objectivist. There were moral principles that were true then and now.
Exactly. Exactly right. It does make you sound like a moral objectivist, because, see, again, as I said, morality will self-manifest when we have love of God. Ultimately, it's about empathy, compassion, love, care, things like these. Ultimately, when we have them towards God, then we are naturally going to have them towards each other. And this is where your intuition comes from. It is absolutely a universal intuition. Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadhipa nachaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayam atah param. There was never a time when you or I or any of these kings standing before you did not exist, and never will there be a time when we shall ever cease to be. So you are eternal, you have been serving him eternally, and so this intuition is also eternal. What's wrong with that? You have love for him and you have love for everyone else eternally. That's where your intuition comes from. Things become much more simple when we see it in these terms. And this simplicity is not a false simplicity. It's the real simplicity of this creation. It's beautiful.
As a human, I instinctively want a society that works, and slavery and inequality is not something that promotes social cohesion. It creates a society of distrust and of hatred. I'm really just kind of speculating here, but this is a difficult question, and I need to figure these things out, right? But I still think I'm on the right track.
You're absolutely on the right track, and you'll have these things figured out sooner than you think.
believe that morality is partly genetics, partly culture, and culture is the transformative part of morality. Now, let me cover meaning as well. I don't believe that there is any inherent meaning to our existence. Like, I don't believe that we are put here for a meaning. I believe that our emergence is not random, like causally, but it wasn't decided upon by some intelligence that we were going to emerge. I believe that that was surely destined in the context of cause and effect, but again, not decided upon by some intelligence that had a will for us to emerge. I don't believe that to be the case.
You don't think that there is a higher intelligence that decided for you to emerge? There is a force that is greater than you that will force you to leave this planet. So there's a force that forces you to leave, but there's no force that puts you here? How could you really believe that? How could you make sense of that? It's a very important question.
So there's no meaning to our existence more than kind of just, the as meaning is tantamount to purpose, as purpose is tantamount to reason. Like, the reason we're here is just because that's what life does. It wants to preserve. It wants to, reproduce. It wants to keep on living. And this kind of very, very, very fundamental desire to keep on living is what drives all life and us. And I think that we think it's more profound.
All right. So, again, this is the bodily consciousness. It's about preservation, it's about survival. Survival of what exactly? The body is going to die anyway. It's changing every single moment. The soul has already survived because it is eternal. It can't be wet by water, it can't be burned by fire, it can't be cut by a sword. So, survival of what? Yes, if you are in bodily consciousness, you will try. This is where the survival instinct and the survival theory, this is where they come from. That when you are in bodily consciousness, that is the conditioned state of man, then you want your body to be like the soul. The soul is already eternal, the body is guaranteed to die. But in our conditioned state, we will want our body to be like our soul. This is where this thinking comes from, that it's all about survival. We're just trying to survive. We're just trying to survive. But no, we're not. People are happy to give their lives. Soldiers are happy to give their lives on a battlefield. Martyrs are happy to give their lives for a cause. So it transcends survival. It's about love. Love is the principle. We need to give up the survival stuff and we need to fixate our minds on love. That is when we will begin to understand what this reality is about.
It is. And that sounds a bit cynical, but again, we're not talking about emotions here. It's just what I believe to be metaphysically true. I don't believe that there is any objective meaning, but however, now I mean to move into the real interesting part here, which is that because the main objection against materialism is actually not metaphysical. It's more emotional. It's like, oh, so you believe that there's no right and wrong. How could you say that? Oh, you don't believe there's any meaning. You're a nihilist. Like, people are gonna fucking kill each other and society is gonna collapse. And so I mean that you mean to say that I don't actually love my family because it's just some chemical impulse. Okay, let's calm down a little bit. First of all, now we're moving away from the metaphysical discussion. Now we're moving into like emotions, which is
Emotions are not separate from metaphysics. If it's a framework that encompasses everything, it must be able to account for everything too.
I'm saying I don't know the intricacies and the details of the brain, the mechanisms of the brain that allow the emergence of this experience of consciousness. But I don't believe that it has anything to do with immaterial stuff. Rather, it's just this super complex machine that creates this experience. And that in itself is very cool. Like, I can be grateful for that. I can wake up every day and say, like, what the hell? This is so cool. I'm like a clump of atoms, and still I feel like I'm me, I'm a person, and I feel like I have free will, and I feel like I can do whatever I want, and I feel like things matter. That's amazing. That's so cool, even though like it's not actually like real.
You're reveling in the glory of the soul. You're amazed at the spiritual nature of you. That's what you're amazed at. And the fact that you have all this amazing machinery attached to you that works exactly as you tell it to, that you are the controller of this machine, you are the lord of this body, this is what you're amazed at. But there's a thing that's much bigger than this. And when you see that, you will never be amazed by anything other than that.
That's like it's an objective fact that I feel meaning, and so that meaning, in some sense, does objectively exist. But trying to ground that metaphysically is a fruitless endeavor, and also, even if you were like it doesn't matter. You don't need to ground that metaphysically because it's real on a human scale. It's very real on a human scale.
Now, here's why you need to ground it metaphysically. Because to ground it metaphysically means to find that which binds us all, to find the common thread, the one that runs through me and you, that is the binding thread of this creation. To find that is the point. And so, the metaphysical framework that's going to answer all the questions is going to be ultimately that. That's what we're going to discover. Because the metaphysical framework, we are not very happy with separation. We don't like this separated state. We want to establish a unity. That's why people are looking for a universal law, a unified law of physics, something that governs everything. That's why people are looking for it, because they want that unity. And that's the basis for finding that metaphysical reality. So it's absolutely not a fruitless endeavor. We just need to go to the right source to learn the answer to it.
Raising children is I don't have any kids myself, but people purport to be the most meaningful experience you can have. That's real. Like, I'm not saying that these people who have children don't actually love their children or don't actually find some deep sense of meaning in raising kids. Obviously they do, and obviously that's a good thing. But I can believe that and be a materialist at the same time, because the discussion of metaphysics, you can separate that, in a meaningful sense from the discussion of human practice of meaning and of morality. So, and in that sense, the divide here is between, the just facts don't care about your feelings and actual human life. And if you think that making this split is philosophically irreconcilable, then I think you're a psychopath.
You say that people who say that you need to have a metaphysical framework to ground your laws and moral framework. If you don't have that, then your moral framework is completely without any basis. You find that to be very unreasonable, and you call those people psychopaths. Actually, and you propose that the moral frameworks are coming from our intuition. They're coming from our feelings. Again, this is not a reason to dismiss metaphysical frameworks. It is a recognition of the fact that the metaphysical frameworks that are on offer are all insufficient. They are all incomplete, which is why they cannot explain to you the true basis of universalism. Now, they all are at different levels of progress. They are at different relationships with the Lord. They are at different levels of maturity and completion. But they leave something to be desired, is your point. So it's not that you are just saying that you need no metaphysical framework. You have your own metaphysical framework that is simply intuition. If it's intuition, if it's feeling. But the point is that you have to understand where the intuition comes from. When you understand where the intuition comes from, you will be able to create a proper metaphysical framework that will be perfect, it will be complete. Just like the philosophy given by Srila Jiva Goswami, it is perfect, it is complete. But the point is that the basis for that philosophy is love of God.
It's about, materialism versus immaterialism. And if someone is a staunch materialist or a staunch immaterialist, you're not going to be able to convince each other because you're fundamentally working on different principles. And so
you must be able to convince each other, The one who's right will be able to convince the one who is less right. The one who is complete will be able to convince the one who is not complete. That's always how it's going to work. Conviction is not, you can't just say these two are equal and opposite and they can never be reconciled because there's always going to be a forever stalemate. Maybe somebody will come along who will have a complete metaphysical framework, and that metaphysical framework will reconcile all the different feelings that you have in terms of the human intuition, as well as in terms of the opposition to the rigidity of the previous metaphysical frameworks. Maybe you're going to become satisfied, and then you're going to adopt that metaphysical framework too. Ultimately, we are looking for that which is perfect and complete and which unifies everything. And there's one that is complete. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. He is complete. Everything that comes from him is complete as well. And one who speaks, remembering him, his words are complete as well. So I hope that this has been thought-provoking for you. I'm sure it has been. And what I want you to do now is specifically 3 things. I told you, you don't need to try drugs. You don't need to go there. You can just chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Do this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. On these japa beads, if you do that, you're going to understand. Secondly, you have to find Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. The verses that I quoted in this video and the concepts that I discussed are from that book. If you want to learn more, then you have to go order this book for yourself if you like to read a hard copy. If you want a soft copy, I'm going to leave a link in the description. So you have to read this book. And third, you have to discover about the personality by the name of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, who went to the United States, what his mission was, why he went, what was his journey. Just explore this a little bit. It's going to give you some thought-provoking things. Perhaps some things to talk about in your own videos. So you want to look at it, all right? So your curiosity is amazing. I congratulate you on it. And it's definitely going to lead you to a very, very good place, to the place of the absolute truth. I am your humble servant, Namacharya Das. Thank you so much for giving me your time. And now I'm going to play some clips for you. These are glimpses from the future, and I want you to spot yourself in it. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.